Hey everybody, welcome to Build a Website from Scratch with HTML and CSS. This video is called Images. In this lecture, we're going to learn about HTML images and how to add them to your web pages. So first off, let's open our code editor. And if we begin from where we left off previously, we had an index file that we learned how to use hyperlinks, and we had a vegetables.html file that had a bunch of different lists: unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists. In our index file, we used a hyperlink to link to the vegetables.html file. In this video, we're going to do images, so I've added an images folder and put images in there already. So I'm going to provide the images folder as an extra to this lecture that you can download. And when you've downloaded the images folder, just pull it into your lesson 2 folder in your lesson 2 directory so that it sits right here in the root. So you have the images folder alongside the index and vegetables files. Okay, so in your code editor, once you've had your images folder pulled into here, we're going to add a new file, and let's call it images.html. Open your images.html file. And let's add our basic HTML structure. So you have the HTML5 doc type. And just a cool little trick in Coda 2, if you're using Coda 2, you should have the ability to use quick little shortcuts to add these common HTML snippets. So if you were just to type basic page and then hit tab, it spits out the basic HTML structure. If you don't have Coda 2, that's okay. Just write out the HTML that you see on the screen. Unless you have it committed to memory, then go ahead and do that. Let's give this page a title of HTML images. Within our body tag, let's add a little bit of text. Let's put a level 1 heading and say, this is how we do HTML images. And then let's put a paragraph tag just to use a little bit more of the HTML we've learned previously. Hey everyone, check this awesome image out. And then below here, we're going to add an image. So to add an image in HTML, you just need to use the img tag, which is kind of sounds like image like that. But you need to add an attribute. It's the source attribute, or src for source. And in the source attribute, this is kind of like in a link, the href, where this is where the link goes. In the image tag, this attribute needs to say, where are we finding this image? So we're finding this image in the root directory in the images folder, and we're going to choose one of these images that we have in the images folder. So to do that, we just need to say images. Since we're already in the root, we just have to reference the folder itself, / to dive down into that folder. And let's start with carrots. Carrots.jpg. Save that. Now check this out in your browser to see what it looks like. This is how we do HTML images. Hey everyone, check this awesome image out. And it's a big picture of a bunch of raw, dusty carrots. So if you see that on your browser, then you're doing it right. So there's a little bit more involved in the image tag for HTML. We need to also add something that is absolutely, in my opinion, required, and it's actually quite recommended across the board, is the alt tag. And this is alt text. This is a way that you describe what you see in the image so that screen readers, for people who have vision impairment or are completely blind, so that they can understand what this image is. We can see that the image is a bunch of dusty carrots. However, somebody who has visual impairment or is entirely blind, they cannot see that it's a carrot, but we still want to serve them the best experience that we can with our website. So we're going to tell them that this image is a bunch of dusty carrots, or whatever is in the image, so that when the screen reader goes over the web page that we just built, they can see or they will hear, this is how we do HTML images. Hey everyone, check this awesome image out. A bunch of dusty carrots, so that they know what is on the screen is a bunch of dusty carrots. So it is absolutely essential that you add alt tags to every single one of your HTML images. Another thing that we should add is a couple more attributes to the image tag is the height and the width of the image attributes. And to find that out, I'm going to click on carrots.jpg in Coda 2, and it tells me how large this image is. So 500 pixels wide by 375 pixels high. So if you don't have Coda 2 or a way to view how large these images are conveniently, like Photoshop or a certain photo viewer, then just follow along and type these attributes in, because this is how tall these images are, or at least this one. So the height was 375, I believe. Yes. And the width was 500 pixels. So we don't need to write pixels in here because it already assumes in these attributes, HTML already assumes this is pixels, and that's what we will use. And the reason why we should add these height and width attributes to the image tag is because while the web page is loading, it will automatically assume 375 pixels by 500 pixels on the screen where the image is going to load, so that your page doesn't jump while the image is still being loaded. So it's a good idea to add this. All right, so that is one image. Let's just add a couple more images for fun. Let's add let's say another paragraph tag here. Let's say check this kale out, and let's put another image tag. The source attribute will be images/kale.jpg alt. Well, let's see what this image looks like. Save this so far, and let's see in your browser. Refresh. Check this kale out. So we have a bowl of steamed kale. I'm going to write a bowl of steamed kale. And the height and width attribute, let's check it out. So 320 pixels wide by 239 pixels high. So let's do height 239 pixels by width. It was 320 pixels wide. And it doesn't matter the order that you put these, as long as they're the right values. So you can have it like this, and it's just fine. So we'll just check this out to make sure it's all good. Perfect. Let's add one more image. And just a quick little pro tip. Instead of writing out the image tag with the source attribute, alt attribute, width, and height attributes all over again, copy it and paste it. And let's just change the values. So instead of kale, we're also going to add the image of potato. Since it's in the same directory, we're good to go. Let's check out what the potato looks like so that we can accurately write something in the alt text. So potato looks like we have a bowl of raw potatoes. A bowl of raw potatoes on a newspaper. That's even more descriptive. That's even better. And so it looks like it's 640 wide by 480 tall. So 640 wide by 480 in height. Save that. Check it out in your browser. Okay, so this looks a little bit funny. The image looks like it popped up beside the kale here. It's not displaying vertically down the line like everything else is, like the H1, the paragraph, this image, more paragraph text than the kale. You would think, why this potato image should be below the kale image, but it's not. It's popping up beside it. The reason why is because images are inline elements. There are two types of elements. Just as a little quick side lecture here, I'm going to include a PDF to this lecture so that you can see which elements are inline and which elements are block, and I'll explain what that means further. But basically, block level elements take up a whole line themselves. So this is a block level element, and this is how much space it takes up. The full width of the browser takes a whole line. This is also a block level element, the paragraph tag. This is an inline element, but it doesn't pop up beside the paragraph above it because the paragraph is a block level element, so it doesn't let anything pop up beside it. And the reason why this paragraph text doesn't pop up beside the image above it is because it's a block level element. This image down here is an inline element, meaning it only takes up as much space as it does in its width. So it's only this wide, that's as much space and height, width and height that it takes. And it allows whatever to pop up beside it because it's an inline element. So because this is also inline, images are inline, it's going to pop up beside it. So there's more on block and inline level elements attached to this lecture, but we're going to move on. And that's it for this lecture. That's how you add images to your web page. And I will see you in the next lecture.